Welcome to the Scholarship Hustle, College Recruiting Exposed, the podcast where we break down what's really happening behind the closed doors of college recruiting. I'm Chris Daly, and in this very first episode, we're talking about something every athlete and parent needs to hear: the game behind the game in college recruiting. Your host for this episode is Coach Esprit. He will be joined by certified scout and insider, Coach Laubach. So let's pull back the curtain and get into it.
All right, I appreciate it, Chris. So look, this one is personal for me because too many parents and athletes think think if you're good enough that coaches will just find you. You know, there's no magic to this. And play hard, coaches find you. Those days are gone. Those days are so far gone, and what it is now is more strategy based. You know, recruiting is a business, and there's a whole game behind the game that most people never see. So today, we'll help with our guest certified scout, Coach Laubach, and we're going to talk about how to get in front of coaches and expose the actual truth about recruiting.
That's it, Coach. I said, unfortunately, there's a lot of people still living in the past. They think, hey, I have a good game on Friday night. I got a nice film out of that, and I'll put that out someplace on social media, and that's going to make my phone ring. And I'm going to have offers I can choose from. But truth is, you know what? Guess what? There's thousands and thousands of kids doing the exact same thing. Coaches just don't have the time to see everybody anymore today. And that means that there's an awful lot of kids just left with no exposure whatsoever. Even if they're better than the next kid, if they don't get seen, they get no scholarships. So today it's all about the relationships, visibility, and also who can vouch for you behind the scenes. Because these coaches will talk to other people before they talk to you to see what they got coming. So, there's a few myths out there that we talk about all the time. Some of the most common ones we see are, hey, I'm good, they'll find me. Not anymore today. Just like I said, coaches don't have the time to see everybody. And if you're not coming to them through some relationship, chances are they're not going to see you, no matter how good you are. Another one we see a lot is, they're going to look at all my highlight films, and by the time they look at them, they're going to know I'm the greatest choice for them to get a scholarship. Well, guess what? If they look at one, they're going to look at one. They're going to look at it for a minute, and you're either moving forward on the recruiting board a little bit further or you're not. They're not going to spend a lot of time. Again, these coaches don't have time to spend getting in-depth with watching too much film on any one player. The other one we see a lot is, when they look at my stats, that's going to tell everything they need to know about me. They'll take a look at stats. Well, I can tell you from talking to college coaches, stats are some of the last things that they look at, especially the stats from showcases. Those are a pinpoint piece of time. Maybe they had the best day of their life, or maybe they came in with the flu and didn't do so good, but it doesn't say much about the player over a 4-year period of time where they're going to be living with that coach. So stats, no, they don't look at stats until way later if they become important at all to them. So, they prioritize their recruits usually by, hey, who I see. They trust their own eyes to go out there and look at players. If they have the time and happen to be able to see a player, they'll go out and look at him, and they'll be the people that they give the most priority to because they've seen him. Then they'll prioritize referrals from other coaches. So a lot of times a coach may have a good recruit and that just doesn't have a spot for him. So they'll talk among other coaches. Hey, I got this great second baseman. Do you have room for him? I just don't have a place for him. Good ball player. And they trust other coaches' instincts and what they're telling them. Maybe, and they talk to scouts like us, those that we have relationships with. They're talking to us all the time. Hey, this is what I need. What do you have? They're dealing with that relationship because they trust us. They know we're not giving them players and talking them up when they're really not that good. They believe what we tell them. Then there's other people that they just know. They went to school with Fred, who was a good friend of theirs, and now they're out and coaching someplace in Colorado, and Fred says, oh my God, you should see this kid play. And he'll send film out and he'll watch it because he's a friend with Fred and he trusts Fred and he knew him all through college. They played ball together. So that's another way. When they still have room, they look at the emails that the student athlete sends to the coach. And believe me, they still have room most of the time. because those referrals don't fill everything. So they do look at those student emails, but they have to be perfect. And we'll talk about that later. In order for that to work, these players have to have a strategy. They have to have a strategy for getting out to colleges and getting their information in front of them. They have to do it in such a way that college coaches are going to look at it. It's not a 15 paragraph note about how great they are and 20 minutes of film. Coaches are not going to look at that. So they have to have a strategy, and they have to answer some questions. Hey, how far from home do I want to go? What schools are in that radius that I'm willing to travel to? Do they have the major field of study that I want to do? Do they have the sport I want to play? There's a lot of homework that goes into it. What NCAA division should I be looking at? That's where we come in and help them along and help them, a little reality check sometimes for players that, hey, maybe you're not a D1 player. Maybe you're a D2 or a JUCO or something like that. So we help them along that way and make sure that they narrow their search to schools that make sense for them. But most of the time, we're really expanding their search because these guys may only look at 2 or 3 schools because they know about them. And if you don't hit in 2 or 3 schools, you're sitting home next fall. And we don't let that happen. We teach them how to expand that search so it makes sense for them. And we teach them about getting going early. They got to start early. They should be starting when they're freshmen and sophomores, not juniors and seniors. Time flies by. And if you don't make those relationships with coaches early on, you're not going to get a good look. So, and they also don't have time for trial and error. They can't practice it and try it and it doesn't work and then try something else. And we know what works. We take that time of trial and error out of the equation for them. So there's an awful lot on the shoulders of a student athlete and their parents to try and get in front of these coaches. And that's where we help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, that's it. Is you got one shot at this, there's no turning back time or anything like that. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You got one shot to get it right. And so what I'd like to talk about now is what coaches won't tell you, some of that what's hidden, behind the scenes. And one is, there's a reason why most coaches don't respond to every DM. I mean, kids are DMing coaches left and right. These coaches are watching you. And before they answer the DM, sometimes they're going to find out exactly who you are. Coaches have connections to be able to do that. And sometimes they can find it right on your social media account. What you are and who you are tells a lot right there on your social media account. What you're reposting, what you're posting, things of that nature. But they're watching your body language on videos as well. How do you respond to coaching? Are you coachable? And yes, they will eventually talk to your high school coach at some point in time if they're highly interested in you. But the reason why they're not answering these DMs is because you don't have things in line to warrant them to start these conversations with you, because they're getting a ton of DMs, at the end of the day. Some kids never get a real shot, not because they aren't talented, but because the coach heard something about their attitude, their grades, their coachability, something along those lines. Don't let that be you. Don't let that be you.
Success begins with the right mindset. Are your team, organization, or students ready to elevate their performance in sports, business, and life? Coach Esprit brings real talk and real motivation, pushing individuals and teams to break through their limits. Whether it's corporate leadership or student-athlete success, his proven BES formula, belief plus execution equals success, delivers real results. As the author of 2 empowering self-help books, Coach Esprit inspires athletes, employees, and leaders to perform at their peak. Book Coach Esprit for your next conference, seminar, or team event. Visit CoachEsprit.com now.
All right, Coach. So let's talk about some of the back channel conversations and the role of scouts. All right. So this is another thing people really don't see. It's the texts, the calls, the referrals. Coaches trust other coaches. Coaches trust scouts. They've built these relationships with them, but the trust level comes because they understand what they're dealing with. They understand what their job is and what they have to do to keep that job. And that is bringing the right student athlete on board. But that's how an athlete gets on a real recruiting board. Exposure is only powerful if the right people are talking about you.
Yeah, that's true, Coach. And along with that, a college coach once said to me, I don't really care how good the kid is until I know who he is. And that's where we come in. I mean, that's one thing student athletes have to remember, why they have to watch what they put on social media, why they have to worry about what their grades are, why they have to worry about how they react when they throw an interception or strike out or make an error. Coaches are looking at all of that before they even care about how great you are, because they're living with you for 4 years. So, I've worked with kids that, geez, they had the size, all the tools you could ask for. They were fast, they had good grades, but then they had no plan. So guess what? They didn't get in front of the coaches. They were invisible to these coaches only because the coaches never saw them. So you got to have a communication plan. You got to be able to be in front of these coaches in the right way. I've seen lesser athletes, two-star athletes, get scholarships because they did have a plan. They did it right. They communicated with coaches in the right way. They showed the coaches that they had the right attitude. They had all the heart and hustle you could ask for. And here's a guy that I can live with for 4 years, and other things maybe I have to teach him, but that's a guy I want on my team. So it's all about the right kind of communication, the right attitude 100% of the time, not part of the time. I can tell you when I'm looking at baseball players, I'm not going to the game on inning number 1. I'm going to the game for infield, outfield. I want to see what that looks like because that's where I see the real kid, how they're acting in infield, outfield, for example. Are they throwing the ball to the right place all the time? Are they showing hustle in infield, outfield? Are they bringing their other players up? Are they encouraging them to hustle so they look like a ball team, not just worried about the ground ball they might get at shortstop in the 5th inning? So they have to pay attention to all that stuff. That's what coaches look for.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Lone Star Gridiron is looking for interns. Over the years, we have helped dozens of students get jobs in sports media. If you want to shortcut your path to a career in sports media, click on the internship link on LoneStarGridiron.com.
Let's dive into this. So there's some unspoken expectations for recruiters and parents, okay? So this isn't just about the athlete. And yes, we're going to dive a lot deeper in another episode about the parents' roles. But I want to talk a little bit about that now. Parents have to understand their role. They just have to. You can support your kid, give them 100% of your support. But the kid has to have their own voice. They absolutely have to have their own voice. Coaches want mature players, not moms and dads, running the show. They want to see character. They want to see an athlete show his follow-up or her follow-up skills, and consistency goes a long way when it comes to this.
Yeah, that's true, Coach. Again, I talk to college coaches all the time, and these athletes are coming to their school for a visit, and they ask the athlete a question, and mom or dad answers. That's not what they want. They want that athlete to look them in the eyes and answer themselves. Their parents aren't going to be around to take care of them while they're in school. They want to know they have a kid that can handle it on his own, who thinks for himself, who's mature. Don't let your parents answer the questions for you when you're on a visit. Please do it yourself. Take the lead. That's what coaches are looking for. And parents, as much as coaches pay attention to the athlete, they pay attention to you too. If they're out there watching a game and the parents are hollering at the umpires or yelling at their kid because they made an error or they threw an interception, the coaches are going to pick up on that. And I've talked to one coach not too long ago who told me he passed on a kid that probably could have been in their program because of the activities of the parents in the stands. And he says, you know what? They're going to be at the games. I don't want to live with that 4 years. So it happens. So please, when we tell the kids to be professional, parents, you need to too. So support them 100%, support them in a positive fashion, and be a positive role model on the sidelines.
Absolutely. I mean, for the listeners, if you hadn't understood up to this point, this process is real. I mean, it is real. And it is a business. Whether you want to believe that or not, it is a business. And if you don't have your business strategy in place, you'll get left behind. And if you just don't understand how this game is played, you'll keep wondering why, as an athlete, why isn't my name being called? As a parent, why isn't my kid getting the same offers that kid A and kid B are getting? Well, it's because you have no real strategy, because I can guarantee you they do. I can guarantee you they do.
Yeah.
Well, like we always do, is we always want to leave you guys with some gem drops, some actionable items, some actionable tips that you can take with you to help you in this recruiting game. So let's jump right into some gems. So number one is start building relationships with coaches by your freshman and sophomore year. Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't get misinformed that you have to wait until your junior year to start building relationships and start sending out film and start having conversations with college coaches. Start early. Don't wait. Don't wait. Number two, keep communication short and professional, and always personalize that communication. Coaches don't have a lot of time. I mean, they're getting hundreds of emails a day. Okay. They're getting DM'd and emailed over and over and over. How are you going to stand out? And we teach our kids how to stand out. But one way to do that is just keep it short, professional, and personalize that message and move on. And just move on. All right. Number three, get evaluated early and often. Feedback can be your fuel. Okay. And what I mean by that is going out to showcases and camps, some of them not for the simple purpose of being truly evaluated, to get some feedback. For an athlete to ask a coach, what do you think, coach? What do you think about this? What did you think about my one-on-ones? What did you think about my, whatever the case may be? And getting that feedback can be your fuel to create a better opportunity for yourself moving forward. So get evaluated early and often. So last one is ask yourself this, who's speaking your name when you're not in the room? Okay. And are you leaving an impression with those that know you and those that don't? Think about that as an athlete. That could go a long way at the end of the day.
Hey Coach, Lone Star Gridiron has been the leader in Coach's Show podcasts for 20 years, and now you can get your own Coach's Show podcast each week during the season as a fundraiser for your booster club. Yes, booster clubs all over are using these podcasts to help their sports programs. You get to share the stories of your program and your kids to a huge audience and make money. We started with just football, but this year have expanded to make them available for all sports. Call 713-269-4620 to find out the details and get your Coach's Show started.
So, look, let's end it here with closing thoughts. So on some closing thoughts, let's go here. So if you're listening to this, you're already ahead of the game, as an athlete or as a parent. You've gotten some gems, you've gotten some information of what you can be doing to better your situation when it comes to recruiting. But recruiting isn't just talent. Make sure you understand that. It isn't just how you see yourself. It isn't how your parents think you are as an athlete. It's timing, it's trust, and it's a team behind you who knows how to move you in the recruiting world. Yep. Play the game behind the game and play it smart. Get your athlete on the college prospect report so they can get evaluated for scholarship opportunities. And do this, you just go to collegeprospectreport.com/questionnaire. That's collegeprospectreport.com/questionnaire. So as we sign out for parents and athletes alike, today's action shapes tomorrow's success. Waiting is a dream killer. So take action now and make those dreams a reality. Thank you, Coach.
Take care, Coach. Thank you. It's great being here.
Definitely some great information there from Coach Esprit and Coach Laubach. If you found some value in this, share it out, pass it along, and of course, subscribe so you can catch us every Tuesday for another episode of The Scholarship Hustle. Because getting recruited doesn't happen by accident. It happens by strategy.